What if the real work isn't about figuring out what to post, but deciding who you're willing to become publicly, even if that means letting go of an identity that once worked? Well, luckily for you, that's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's episode. Welcome to the Storytelling Lab, where filmmaking, brand, and business all collide. My name is Bennett, a filmmaker and an author, and for over 2 decades, I've studied how stories actually work on the screen, inside organizations, and most importantly, out in the real world. So each episode, I host one of the world's greatest storytellers to help break down the art and science of storytelling as a system, not just a skill. That means how stories create connection, how they move people emotionally, and ultimately, how they drive action. So if you want to learn to tell stories that do more than just sound good, but they actually achieve something, then this, dear storyteller, is the show for you. What's up, storytellers? Welcome back to the Storytelling Lab. This is episode 217, and today my guest is Elton Anderson. Elton is a photographer, a creator, a storyteller, and the founder of L10 Media. Now, this is the first episode of season 15, and this season is all going to be about the intersection of filmmaking and visual storytelling and your business. This is what I want you to understand, is that I want you to create advocates and fans and evangelists just like films and television shows have. That's what I want for your business and your brand. And the way to do that is thinking about not just pumping out content, but creating entertainment. And now when I say entertainment, I don't mean it has to be funny or silly or make people laugh, although it can if that is your voice, if that is your brand. But what I mean by that is creating content that people would actually pay for. You are your own entertainment media studio. No matter if you are a large global corporation, no matter if you are a solopreneur or an author or a personal brand, or you have a small nonprofit with 5 employees, it's the same thing. You need to be telling stories that people are willing to show up for time and time again. That is how you're going to use storytelling as a system that helps your business continue to grow and evolve over time. I first came across Elton on TikTok and his post where he was speaking candidly about positioning. And that's what this conversation is really about, like who you are up here in your head when you're having your self-talk and how that aligns with who you try to be, at least publicly, how you try to show up in the world, the stories that you tell other people. And we talk about how to use your positioning as a tool, as a leverage point, and not as a way to get boxed into one certain niche. You're multi-passionate, most likely. You have a lot of different beautiful things about you. And all of those things, when woven together tightly in a little wreath that makes you, that's your unique identifier. That's what you need to lead into. You don't have to be this and this alone. Elton has gone through multiple evolutions in his career. And what he is finding is how to be himself in a way that connects with other people, that connects with his audience. That is what stories do. That's what we're trying to learn how to do here on the Storytelling Lab. How to be yourself so well and so authentically that it finds your ideal superfans, the people who need to hear your unique perspective on the world. Just because you do something similar to someone else in your space does not mean you do it in the same way. In fact, you shouldn't. You should understand how you tell your kind of stories, how you create your type of content, unlike anyone else on the planet. And the better you understand yourself, the better you are able to do that. We also talk about the resistance. We talk about shadow work. We talk about the dark side of all of this and how to just get comfortable pressing record and pressing publish and putting yourself out there and understanding that it's a process and you're an evolving, beautiful being too. And it's okay to document that, the good, bad, and the ugly, because that is part of your authentic journey. And that's what's going to help you connect with your ideal audience, is being yourself, but being able to lean into that in a way that's comfortable for you and allows you to show up comfortably on camera. If you are a creator or an artist or a founder who has felt boxed in by the algorithm, this episode is going to show you practical tips on how to break free from those constraints so that you can live toward your purpose, be your authentic self in a comfortable way that allows space for your people, your community that you're trying to grow, to come in and join the story that you are telling. So here's my conversation with Elton Anderson, and I hope that you love it. Elton, welcome to the Storytelling Lab.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you. I like that bright green Kelly green shirt you got on today. Brings nice energy to the table. I love your energy all together. That's why I invited you on the show. I will set it off by saying that I think the post that I saw and why I invited you on is you were talking about positioning specifically. Yeah. So I think that'll kind of frame the conversation. But otherwise, like, I just kind of want to talk to you about what your focus is on now. I think a lot of the stuff that you talk about is relevant to my audience and myself personally. You know, I have the show for basically selfish reasons, right? Like, I like to pick the little gems of wisdom from everybody out there and then just compile it and keep it for myself.
Exactly.
So do you recall that post? You might have talked about positioning quite a bit. So if not, that's okay.
Yeah, was it the post about people over 40 in the positioning, or was it just positioning?
No, but I want to get there too, because I am that crowd and a lot of my listeners are too. But it was really just about how to position yourself as a creator. And instead of, because here's the conventional wisdom, right? Like, you must be this. For me, I'll fall on the sword first. You're the storytelling guy. You can't be anybody but the storytelling guy. Don't give me anything but storytelling content, right? And I don't like that. I like to buck that system because I'm multi-passionate, you know, and there's a lot that I like to talk about. Now, it almost always comes back to the things that I love most, i.e. storytelling. But I might talk about just a lesson that I had in my head or a family thing or whatever, right? So I think it was around that. So I'll ask you directly. How do you try to show up and represent yourself online today?
Today is very different than yesterday because so my path to social media has been a little bit all over the place. You know, if you're over 40, we didn't have social media starting up. And so I remember I quit my 6-figure job to become a photographer back in 2008. I used to do pharmaceutical sales, and, you know, sales is all about storytelling. And when I decided to do weddings as a photographer, that was a kind of like an easy way to get in, to like just learn on the job, because I was a self-taught photographer. And I had a blog. And on my blog, my number one referral for wedding brides to hire me were single women, because I would talk about the brides and their love story on my blog. And then people would be like, oh my gosh, Elton, you make me feel like I can find love. You make me feel like I can fall in love and find a husband. And so single women that used to read the stories I wrote were the number one people that would refer the brides to me. So when you talk about all the way into today, I really feel like storytelling and writing is the centerpiece of how I show up online. I think that TikTok, I made the transition to TikTok about a year ago. I started in October of last year. And during that time, it's been just a lot of trial and error, a lot of, like, I would say, exposing yourself, exposing your thoughts, showing up very differently on TikTok than you do any other platform. And I just kind of jumped in. And so right now, I think my approach to storytelling and showing up online is not just authenticity, but I would say almost like alchemy. It's like I'm taking the experiences I had in my life, I'm taking the darkness, the shadows, the good, the bad, and I'm putting it into a 60-second piece or a train of thought on TikTok. And that's been really good because I get to meet people like yourself and just get to expand my own network and my own mental ground space.
It's also good for you when you're able to have any level of success in that, because then you become the product, and not in a like completely capitalistic, you know, commodification way, but like it allows you to be more malleable in how you pursue whatever it is you're pursuing, or how you want to show up in the world, or if I want to paint today, or if I want to make a film, right? When you are the story, but it's hard to achieve, right? Because especially TikTok likes to drive you to like, you talk about landscaping. That's what we want from you. And I know creators that have broken out of that pigeonholed situation, and it's hard. They talk about how hard it is to like kind of to break and retrain the algorithm, and I feel it too. If I just post something that's just like a stream of consciousness that I had that day, often, at least initially, it doesn't hit as well. So I first of all commend you for doing that, but I think it's good for the long run for you to be positioned that way and not just like, I'm only going to talk about photography or only going to talk about wedding content, because you may grow tired of that. You may want to change and pivot. That's the way the world is these days, especially for artists. What was your initial goal when you got on TikTok, or were you just there to kind of play around and figure it out? Or were you like what made you say, yeah, I'm finally going to do that?
So the initial goal with TikTok was always freedom. So the way I look at social media as a whole, is that media is the wave of the future. Like this is the age of information. People are receiving information and giving information. I think to the point where you can provide not just information, but clarity on a subject, on a story, the clarity of even yourself, or help people see the clarity within themselves. I think that it's endless of what you can bring and attract to yourself. And so my idea when I started on TikTok was literally, I wanted to start my own media company. And so I've started L10 Media, and the way that, because I wanted to understand, like, what's the algorithm like on TikTok? What are people talking about? TikTok is, when you're coming from Instagram, I know your listeners are probably like on Instagram because everybody is, but yeah. I always say, like, if you start on Facebook, that's kind of like Jurassic Park. And then when you come to Instagram, when you go to Instagram, it's kind of like, I don't know, like the red carpet almost a little bit. Like, it's like people are pretty much trying to show up like camera ready. But then when you come to TikTok, that's like kitchen table. That's like people shoot content in their beds. Like that's the safe space where people are safe in their own selves, and they're able to come out there and share that safeness with the world. That's what I think a good TikToker does, is they show that. So my goal was to really understand that kind of process. And I think TikTok is like the wave of the future, or at least the start of it. And then from there, I was like, I want to be able to build my own media company to where I can get the attention and the eyeballs from TikTok, and then drive people to my own little piece of the world.
What are the pieces of content that you find like stick the most with people? What resonates the most with people, if you can track that?
For sure. I think what sticks the most with people is very, very specific content. I do this all the time in my content. Like some of my content is very, very pointed to like one person. Just recently, I did a post on my smaller page. I said, you don't need another degree. I don't know who this is for, but do not go back to college. Do not get another degree. Do not get in any more debt. Now, I was talking to literally one friend when I made that TikTok, but so many people were triggered by it. People were like, oh my gosh, like what? I want to go to school. I'm going back. And then some people were like, oh my gosh, I needed to hear this. And I think specificity and talking to one person, treated like a FaceTime, really, really goes far on TikTok more than anything.
Absolutely. And like you said earlier, I mean, legitimately, there are people that just film in their bed or on their couch, or like they just woke up in the morning and they're just about to go to sleep at night, and it works. But you'll still have those people that, talk about exactly like all the things you need to do, the hashtags you need to use, use this trend and sound, make sure you're doing 7-second videos, yada, 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 yada. And they seem to, at least ostensibly, make a living or make content based on that. But I wanted to ask you, so that's one tip, is like, treat it like a FaceTime. I love that. Do you put any effort into any of the technical, aspects of posting and how to create content, do you now understand, like, here are ways to, kind of hack it and make sure that, it's getting to people? Or are you just showing up trying to be as authentic as yourself and just like, look, this is what's on my mind today. A friend of mine said this thing and I just want to kind of talk to them, even though I hope it helps someone else? Or is there strategy and tactics that you use?
No, I think that's a great question. I think the number one thing is sound and lighting. Like, I think a good solid lighting, like you can see your face, you can see everything, whether it's night light, it's typical light, like this is natural light right now. I think that's amazing. I mean, that's so important. And then you have to have great sound. Like I need to be able to hear you. I need to be able to understand you fully. And that can be achieved anywhere and anything. Now, when I start going into other tips that I think work, I would say in terms of content containment, what the strategy that I really, really have been narrowing down to is the comment section. When you make a piece, when you do a piece that is polarizing, not for the sake of being polarizing, but just literally clearly defines where you stand on something. When you do something that is emotion, that tucks on the emotions, and when you do something, when you make content that is fully in representative of your frequency, like something that's so authentic to like who you are as a person, those have always gone crazy. And I specifically want to talk about the comment section because a good TikTok for me is when people come into the comment section and they tell their whole life story. Oh, when I was 6, I didn't know that I could do this. And then like it's that part of TikTok. And it's so poignant for your platform talking about stories and storytelling that I love. I know that I hit a very sticky, I call them sticky posts, because when people get so emboldened to write their whole life story in a comment section, then they'll follow you. They'll typically send you DMs. They'll typically start to latch on to what your platform is about. And that's what you want to get. You want to get people talking in the comment section.
What does that tell you about your content when people are open and vulnerable and willing enough to share their story as a response, as a comment?
I think so, man. Like, it took me a long time to build up like this thug life that I have now, because I'm super duper like sensitive. I'm very much like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you spent this time writing this beautiful message to me. That's how I used to be, but now I'm more of a thug. But what I see is that it really shows me about connection, and that's all storytelling is, man. It's really about people connecting with each other, feeling connected. And another like tip that I saw that really works to get people engaged with your content is to have a common enemy. So a lot of times the enemy can be, you know what I'm talking about. The enemy can be everything from weight, overeating to colleges to the whatever political party. But when you create an enemy, then you start creating cult followings, because it's like, yeah, we're gonna go, we hate them too, or we're against them too. And it doesn't have to be anything bad. Like right now, I'm my biggest enemy right now is resistance. So I'm making a lot of content just talking about how to get past resistance, how to stop being resistant and follow the path of least resistance. So
do you know Stephen Pressfield's work, the author?
Of course, The War of Art.
Okay, yeah. I didn't want to assume, but when you said the word resistance, it's just like that, that is a common enemy that he established as well. He's been on the show. He's become a friend of mine, so I always love to shout out his his name
that's
and his
dope.
work. Yeah, he's incredible. But yeah, the resistance. I'll give him a little bit more shine with this line that he says, and I think it will land with you. Especially with any creator, any artist, any dream that you have, which I love that he puts is like, it doesn't have to be like I'm making a movie. It could be like I'm creating a startup, right? Anything that you're trying to build that doesn't exist is an art form, right?
Yeah.
And he said that, you know, you got to picture it like your dream is a tree standing tall in a sunny meadow. And whenever you see that, there's always going to be what from that sun cast onto the side of the grass beside the tree, the shadow of the tree, right? And that's your resistance. And the bigger the tree is, the bigger the shadow is, i.e. the bigger the resistance is. So that was always his litmus test of like, should I be telling this story or do this other project I've been thinking about, which is like whichever one you feel the most resistance for is probably yourself telling you like that's the one, right? Because it's always going to be the equal size of your dream. So that's what your heart really wants to pursue, which is why you're feeling that resistance. And I love the shadow and tree metaphor so much. It really clicked when he said that, because otherwise I'm just thinking like, oh, it's me, right? Something's wrong with me. There's resistance every time I doubt myself. Why do I have such low self-esteem, et cetera, et cetera? But it's like, no, it's just embedded in any dream that you have and any dream anyone has ever had. So the only way to overcome it is to go through it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Because it makes the most sense.
Absolutely. And it's liberating to me, maybe not to everybody, but it's liberating to me when you're like, oh, so it's just going to be hard. Like, and it's hard for anybody that I look up to too. So if you're cool with that and you realize that's not going to change, then, cause you know, it's freeing to me. I've just spent a lot of time recently at a couple different storytelling and filmmaking events where I'm learning from some of the best in the world. It's the same thing with them. They're like, we don't just have it made because I made one successful film. It's still hard. It's extremely hard. And for me, that's freeing and liberating, because I know that like, oh, well, if this is the life I chose, it's not just that I'm special and it's just hard for me. It's hard for all of us. So cool. Now I know what to do, which is just to keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And not being afraid of that shadow. I think that's the biggest thing. Like learn how to integrate it. Learn how to integrate it, learn how to bring it in. Are you applying that? And is that quote kind of like, have you applied that into your art and your work as well? Like, has that been like
yes, I'm trying to. I'm in a big transition right now too, which is I want to get to that topic with you, because that is a lot of the content you create that I've vibed with as well. So I've been doing nonfiction storytelling for pretty much my whole career, documentaries mostly. And then when I reached 40, it was just like, I've always had these ideas in my head and my heart, fiction, narrative, fiction ideas, stories I wanted to write and make up that I hadn't pursued. And when I hit 40, I'm like, all right, like, what are we doing here? Like, it's time, right? When I fast forward and look at like, Deathbed Rain, I'm like, I could do all the speeches in the world, which I love. I love public speaking. I could do documentaries. I could write my books. But like, there are certain, if I was on that final day and I hadn't at least gotten these stories out of my head, that's the thing that I would regret above all else. Yeah. And when that clicked, is like, all right, it's time to start pursuing that. It's certainly not too late. I love looking up. That's why one of the reasons I love Stephen Pressfield, because he didn't publish his first book until his 50s. Right. And so I love those stories that people have like, it's never too late. And it's absolutely not. There's countless examples of that. And so, yes, to answer your question directly, now I very much think about that when I'm like, well, what's the story that I should be like working on? Simple. You ask yourself which one kind of scares you the most. You can word it a different way, but that's, which one do you feel the most resistance for? So I really love that as a guiding principle, and a true north is like, yeah, it's okay. The shadow is going to be there. Just like if I walk outside today and it's sunny, the sun is shining and lighting up my dream, there is going to be a shadow, because it's two sides of the same coin. And when you can accept that, it makes that shadow less daunting, right? Less scary. Yeah. Because it means you're a dreamer, and that's a good thing. It means you have something to say, and that's a good thing.
But going from dreamer to builder is something that we're going to talk about, but I'll let you lead that conversation.
You go ahead. I'm going to pass the baton. I've been talking for 5 straight minutes. I love that you took us there.
No, I think,
yes.
You said what?
No, I love that you took us there. I want to talk about that because it's one thing to be the visionary. It's a whole nother skill set and mindset to be an integrator, right? To make it happen, to execute.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I am in my life right now. Having been a photographer for so many years, I've always been what's the word I'm looking for? I've always been attracted and drawn to moving film. Like I've always wanted to be a music video director. I've always wanted to direct short films and things like that. I've always wanted in my mind to do that. And that's why I moved to New York. I moved to New York to take a stab at really telling short films and shooting commercials. So when I got here, I shot a commercial, and I had the biggest realization when we were in the editing process. I realized that I was not fulfilled telling other people's stories. When I shoot, when I direct, I'm shooting for these big companies, I'm shooting for these big campaigns, and there's still a lot of creative freedom, which I love, but at the end of the day, I have not told the story that I truly want to tell. I'm telling commercial stories, you know? And so I had to take a step back. Being here in New York, my 90-day test, I think it was so perfect. Again, it's coming to an end on Friday. I'm leaving on the 31st. But I had the biggest realization that this part of my life, this chapter is done. And now what do I want to do? I am obsessed, and I have been obsessed with the idea of YouTube, because I feel like it removes all the barriers to entry. I feel like you can turn your YouTube channel, in effect, into a huge media conglomerate. You can do whatever you want on there. And I love the independence of it. I love the sovereignty of it. And that's my next chapter. So right now I'm building like systems and funnels so that I can make my content, I can make my videos, I can make my short pieces, and those can drive income and money, essentially.
When you have a little epiphany like that, like this is not what I want to do anymore, that also can be scary.
Scariest thing of my entire life.
So how are you navigating that? What are the steps someone can take, because it's psychologically, emotionally challenging, mentally, maybe even physically at times? How are you at this stage navigating that significant pivot?
Rain, I am going through it right now. And I am no stranger to breakdowns and crash outs mentally. I am very familiar with those two topics. What I'm doing now, I would say the first thing I'm doing now, like the thing I'm doing now, because it is very, very scary. I am 43 years old, and the only way I have known how to really bring in income was through my work as a photographer. I've made so much great money. I worked with so many clients and celebrities. I could name drop every company from HBO to Ford to whatever you want to call it, that I've shot for, and so many celebrities. And to me, the biggest part was that this is an identity shift. I am literally letting go of an identity of myself that I absolutely loved. Like Elton, Elton, was great. He was super successful. People loved him. I used to host a travel show. I don't even talk about that. I hosted a travel show, traveled all over the world. I've been to 90 countries. I've done all the things. And then now I'm in this part of my life where I want to keep scaling back, keep going down, taking off every layer, trying to get to the raw material that is me, trying to get to the part of me that is begging to be self-actualized. And so when you brought up the shadow, that's exactly where I'm at right now. I'm in the middle of what Carl Jung, is it Jung or Young? But Carl Jung.
I think it's Young.
Yeah. He talks about the shadow. He talks about this specific part called the negredo, and that's like the blackness. That's like the raw material where we hide. And it's not until you make the unconscious conscious that you really see change in your life. So right now I'm just in the depths of the shadow. I'm really understanding who I really am, and I'm just attacking it with consistency. I wake up every morning. I'm falling in love with this new routine I'm making. I'm writing a book right now. And the book is entitled Reality is Already Written. So basically, I think our lives to some extent are already, we have free will, but I feel like our lives at our core, we know what we came here to do. We know our final paths. It's no different than a seed. Like if you have an apple seed or a mango seed or whatever seed you can think of, that seed is genetically designed to become an apple tree. Yep. All you got to do is put it in the right environment, water it, take care of it, and the nature does everything for it. And I feel like human beings are absolutely no different. Each one of us has a genetic design that, if put in the right environment and given the right treatment and the right water and the right care, we could fully flourish into what we're supposed to be. And I feel like for so many years, I bought into the illusion of this idea of Hollywood and this idea of all those things, living in in LA for 12 years. And I finally had to release that illusion and realize that this is more about telling your own true and honest story, and self-actualization comes from figuring out what kind of seed you are. What's your code? How are you coded? So that's where I am right now.
That's so good. I'm off camera here. I've got Maslow's hierarchy of needs that I can look at every day, with the self-actualization being at the top. So I love that you said that, and not everybody reaches that. But what you're saying, I think, what I'm hearing at least, is that that is pre-designed, and our path or our quest is to find what that is. But we're not dictating what that is because it exists out there. We do have a little influence of whether we go try to get it. Is that fair, or at least similar to what you were saying?
I think that's dead on. And just to simplify it for your listeners, is we oftentimes think of purpose. Like, what's my purpose? We think of our purpose outside of ourselves. I'm chasing this purpose. You brought up the term true north, which I love. I'm stealing a lot of your words from this. I'll be taking these with me.
We'll trade them. We'll trade them back and forth.
But what I realized, and what I was just writing on and pondering on 2 days ago, was that the actual purpose is in the process. Like that's your actual purpose, is the going through something, letting it go, starting over, becoming somebody different. You become this new identity because you have to become this new person to bring this thing to life. And then you're like, oh, you have all these doubts, but then you can't sleep at night because it's keeping you up. It's waking you up at 2:30 in the morning. You have to get it out. That right there, you go broke. You go into bankruptcy. You get out of bankruptcy. You get a divorce. Then you find the love of your life. And, all those things. Then you move to Portugal, and all of that is the process. And that was your purpose, because then from that, you have so much material. I always talk about do it for the plot. And that right there, when you get out of that loop that we put in of like, oh, I have to do this, I have to go to work every day, I have to do this. When you get out of that loop, you start doing it for the plot. And then everybody loves a good plot. Like everybody loves a climax. Everybody loves the hero's journey. And that's when you put yourself in that.
That reminds me, it's similar. This might have been Pressfield too, but I'm not sure. But someone said, like, and I resonated with this because for a long time my self-worth is very much wrapped up in like what I produce, right? Like my productivity. Like if I make something cool, people like it, external validation, Rain feels good. If I haven't been doing anything or I've been in the lab for 2 years, nobody's seen anything, nobody's clapped for me and patted me on the back, Rain feel bad, right? So for a long time, like I wanted to be a filmmaker, I wanted to be a writer, you know, because of that identity, right? And someone that I read said you can't fall in love with being a writer or what you think that is. You have to fall in love with writing, right? With the process, which is precisely what you just said. And also going back to what I said earlier about some of the, you know, people that I admire that I've been meeting lately at these events, that also helps reduce this glamorization of like what being a writer or a filmmaker is like, no, it's still hard. So you have to actually love it, and you have to fall in love with the process and do it for the plot. It's for the journey. It's for the, I mean, these are all these cliche things that we hear, right? It's not the journey, it's the destination. I mean, it's not the destination, it's the journey. But like, there's so much truth in those old, you know, adages, right? Because hey, maybe somebody's lived through life and had a little bit of wisdom and experienced that. But that's what I am trying to ground myself in similar ways.
Because that's what, and I'm glad you brought up that word wisdom. Like I was thinking about that the other day, because when a lot of us are on the journey or the looking for knowledge. Like we want all this knowledge. We read all the books. We watch all the podcasts. We're trying to get knowledge from all these other people because knowledge is being exchanged at a alarming rate every second of the day. And what I've been realizing is that what really turns the crank is wisdom, because wisdom is like knowledge with experience. Wisdom is like, you can only get wisdom from taking that knowledge and getting in the booth, getting in the ring, getting on the court, like getting in those places and showing your work. So a lot of times for me, you read The Artist's Way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course. And so they talk about like, you just worry about the quantity and God will perfect it to the quality. And that's where I kind of am right now, is just like, all right, let me make my YouTube video for the day. I'm screaming the whole time, just like it's agony. But the minute you create that piece, then next thing you know, you're a different version of yourself, because you're now that version of Rain that has created that piece. It's done, it's out into the universe, it's out into the ether, and you're done with that. And what is really, really the goal too, I would say, is becoming a channel for more and more ideas, becoming a channel for bigger ideas. There's this divine source that gives us all of our ideas. Everything was an idea. The shape of that microphone, the hair on your head, everything was.
Well, wait a damn minute now.
I said it was an idea.
You just catch a stray? What's going on?
I'll say this, Ray. I'll put myself out there. I definitely went to Turkey in 2023 and got me a whole new hairline. So
no, you did not.
I am not above. Hell yeah. I went around Thanksgiving and got me a hairline, and I'm not afraid to say it.
You skipped the turkey and went to Turkey.
So I just right now, like in what I'm starting to put, because I'm in a transition for my content right now, because I'm really like forming my language, but there are ideas that are just always circling around us. And I think that ideas match your frequency when you are ready to bring it to life. And
Yeah.
these big ideas aren't going to come as often if you don't have the muscle of bringing forth the smaller ideas on a daily, consistent basis. So I talk about when I saw Sinners, one of my first viral TikToks ever was when I saw Sinners, and I was like, oh my gosh, Ryan Coogler channeled this movie. Like, he didn't write it, he didn't direct it, he channeled that movie because the way it was shot, everything, the cast, every single person was so vital to that film that it felt like, to me, a modern day masterpiece. And I was like, this is what happens when you let go of that veil and you just allow the art to flow through you. And that's what I saw in that movie.
We could have a whole conversation, whole podcast about Coogler. He's been one of my favorites for many years, not just with Sinners and not just with Black Panther, but I mean, I love Fruitvale, but then Creed did something to me because I, like him, grew up with my father watching Rocky films. And so that first Creed, just like, oh my God, I'm not sure that many people cried watching Creed, but I did. But Sinners was, it was absolutely incredible. But I think you're right. Like with Creed, he's kind of in this Rocky franchise. With Black Panther, he's in the Marvel, cinematic universe. But I think that you're right. Like, this felt like something that came from his core, right? This was his voice finally talking. Not his voice has been in everything. That's why I've always liked all those films, especially in the first one. That was very much attached to him, which is why it gave him his start, I think. But this absolutely felt like a masterpiece, which is why he can like break the rules and do, have like that scene and that dance scene in the middle of it that feels like almost its own little short film within the film, right? And like he can have that break and it doesn't feel like, what's going on here? Because if you were in the theater like I was watching it, it was like, holy shit, like it was palpable.
The idea for that scene came from a divine source. Like, you're not going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to tell me.
It felt like it too. It felt like it.
You can feel it. Like, you can feel it. And I think that was, in essence, this is about to turn into a whole Sinners podcast. But what I felt like, in essence, it was like, it was showing us what, Remick was looking for, and then just like that scene is like, so I love seeing things like that because it allows me to bring it into my own life, like just to know and to find my own true north, because it's never outside of you, it's always within you. Whatever constellation of ideas and purpose is always going to be right inside of you, but we just have to get used to looking inside versus
and most of
trying
us
to search for it in everywhere else.
Most of us don't tap in ever, and that's a tragedy. Right? Because when you start to be able to, it might get hurt a little bit at first, might be a little uncomfortable, but that's when you find out the stuff that we're talking about, right? That's when you find the gold, the goodness that is you. It's not really a pivot, but I'm going to switch gears for just a second and kind of talk about voice from some of the things that we've been saying just before we started talking about Sinners. So I've always said, and learned and then said that to be a better storyteller, you need to be a better listener, right? To be able to tell things better, you need to first be able to listen better. When we were just talking about ideas and where they come from, you didn't say it like this, but just before you were talking about that, I wrote down this note that says, to have more ideas, do more things, like take more action, right? That's how you spark ideas, not sitting on the couch, being out in the world. I love your skating videos around Brooklyn, right? Like, I bet you have tons of ideas when you're in motion out in the world, seeing the stimuli that are out there, right? And then I think you said a very similar thing one time. I'm paraphrasing, but like, to be more interesting, be more interested,
Oh
right?
yeah, I did say
Like
that.
be
Yeah.
more curious. And that was one that I wrote down because it stuck with me, but we're all swimming in the same like theme here. So, and I think it tracks back to like, if I want to be an artist, if I want to leave that job that I'm no longer happy with, how do I find my voice? How do I tap in and find that thing that is uniquely, authentically me? How do I channel, like Ryan Coogler did with Sinners, something that is like nobody could on this earth could have ever made that movie the way he did? Not a drop, nobody. How do I find that unique quality that is within me? And from what you're saying here today, and I fully believe it, it is already there.
Yeah.
What are the actionable steps I take to actually locate it?
The actionable steps is the action. So I think that you find your voice. I love the concept of voice. Like, I really believe you find your voice through the doing. I just talked about this concept of be, do, have. I'm really big on identity shifting right now. And so, have you heard of that concept, be, do, have?
Vaguely, but
No?
remind me.
Okay, let's talk about it. Okay. So it's just 3 steps of like manifestation and attracting things into your life. So on top is the be, on the middle is the do, and at the bottom is the have. So the idea or concept of having something is kind of tied to the old ideas of manifestation. Like, oh, I want to have a new car. I want to have this specific partner. It's like desire. And if you look at desire in terms of like frequency and resonance with the universe, it is lack. It's like your desire to have a Oscar is informing the universe that you don't have Oscar. And so that energy is going to have to keep itself polarized. So until you understand that, okay, maybe I need to go up to another level. Maybe I need to go up to the do. And so when you get to the do, that's where all of the action happens. That's where you start taking the inspired action. And that's when a lot of us are right now. Like, people can see us, and that's where we get the validation. It's like, oh my gosh, I can see you doing this. And like, oh my gosh, I saw your pictures. Like, and I used to live for that. I post a picture on my Instagram and then everybody's like, oh my gosh, I loved that image you took. It was so great. And I'm like, sure. But then you have to get where you really start seeing a change is the being. And so being is literally, we're human beings. You are being yourself. And just at that frequency, at that level, it is a place where you have done all of the internal work. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is do the inner, not all you have to do, but you have to do that inner work. And what happens is you then become aligned. Like right now, I feel so honored to be on your podcast. I said to myself when I started TikTok, I was like, I would love to be like guest on people's podcasts. Like, I literally put that out there, and you're my 3rd podcast. But just me getting on TikTok and talking and people resonating with this, that's another kind of validation that comes from source in my mind. And so it's showing me that in this journey to find my voice, to speak at the level of being, because what I'm saying is who I am, it has helped unlock even more ideas and decisions for me to go down this very, very scary path of building my own media company. But just the simple fact that I get an opportunity to be on your platform informs me that this is the right path.
Absolutely.
So I think we do need to pay homage to the action, is the point I'm making, is that had I not did the action of making a TikTok, we would never know each other, you know?
Right.
And the idea of action, showing you your voice, is so, to me, it is such, they are married to each other, because every time you press that red button and upload, or you press upload on YouTube or whatever it is, you are literally telling the universe that, hey, this is my part in this big grand scheme of things. This is me adding another brick to the empire that I'm building. And then if you build it, what do people do? They come. So I think that the more bricks you put out there, you find your voice, and it's going to be ugly. It's an ugly process finding your voice. It is not cute finding your voice. No. But once you get the hang of it, it becomes the most fulfilling thing ever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
You go.
I've been yapping, but no, I was just thinking too, we talk a lot about voice, but one thing I really want people to start thinking about is tone.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can use your voice, but sometimes people aren't speaking in their proper tones, you know? Like we have a different tone. Like, for instance, I'm a dude from Detroit and a black man from Detroit, if you haven't noticed. And so there are some things that I have to say in the dialect and the accent and the slang that I know, but there's somebody out there that needed to hear that exact same thing from me, from my voice. There's people that resonate with you that need to hear your voice. And I love that you are taking the assignment that's put on you to start this podcast, because you're like, I'm meant to do this. And now you're talking to Stephen Pressfield, like, get out of here.
It's crazy, right? Like, and I think about that all the time, and I always give him love because he's very kind. He's been on the show a couple times, but he's a first name basis friend now. Like, I email him, right? And it is. And what I always say about him is, like, he's not just like one of my favorite writers. He's like your favorite writer's favorite writer, right? Like, all the people I look up to him because of that book, because of the way he put and framed and phrased the journey of the artist, right? And absolutely. But it took me a while to do that. I love what you had said earlier too. Like, now I am focused on the certain stories that only I can tell based off of my background. I'm from Eastern North Carolina, country boy from Eastern North Carolina, right? I grew up on the water. That absolutely influenced the way I see the world. And so when I show up as my true self, I can't divorce myself from that, right? I take the beautiful things about it. I try to leave the things that aren't so, beautiful under a rock, but all of it is part of me. And so when I am in pursuit of finding, my voice and my tone, it's always going to be a part of it, right? And so once you start leaning into those things, it's kind of like the shadow, right? Instead of like running from it, once you start leaning into it, imagine what happens. Then the doors start to open up for you.
Yeah, that's what social media is right now. Where it's just on, social media is just about opportunity. Like, if you really approach social media the correct way, you are simply opening up yourself to more opportunities. The way that this world is shifting and going, I won't even get into that, but I know back in the day, everybody was like, real estate, I need real estate, I need I just realized, I just consulted with these team of people that are doing wellness retreats around the country. And I was like, the first thing you all need is digital real estate. Like, I need to know who you are. I need to know who the facilitators of the retreat are. I need to know their stories. And simply put, people don't realize how important story is. Like, they don't understand what that does, right? Because the number one thing in the whole world is when you start getting people to tell your story. So just how you did with Stephen Pressfield, you was like, yeah, he didn't write his first book till he was 50. Immediately, that's going to make me more interested in him. Just that little tidbit, And people don't realize, like, people are so trained to hide those little things about themselves, like hide those pieces of the story that really add the meat and potatoes to why I would read your book. And so people just need to learn how to drop those masks, which is very hard. We've been shaped and programmed to put on our masks. And I love TikTok because it's making us take off our mask a little bit, piece by piece.
Absolutely. Man, I think that's a perfect place to end today. I love that idea so much. I'm going to be thinking about that, of like, once you get other people to tell your story, that's when you're clicking on all cylinders.
You're to the moon. You're to the moon. That's when you start becoming like a legend. You didn't know that Rain did da 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 da. Yeah.
Oh, I like it. Now I'm gonna start thinking about that. So what you're moving back to Miami. What's next?
So what's next is coming up is I am moving back to Miami. I'm gonna crash with my parents for a little bit, recalibrate. I am really excited about two things. I am writing my first book. It's a nonfiction book. It's really along the lines of like Untethered Soul, like those kind of books. Like, I really like that direction. Just something that encompasses my story, but also helps to inspire others. And building a platform on my YouTube channel. And one of the things that I am currently helping other people with is literally how to build your own micro media company around your social media. So don't think about it as like a channel. Don't think about it as your page. Think about it as a fully realized ecosystem around your interests. That's it. Literally, what are you interested in? Build an ecosystem around it, because money needs a channel to flow to get to you. And this way you can be paired with different sponsorships, brands, companies, people, get you on a podcast, tour. You know, you do all those things. And I think that creators nowadays, we have to realize that we are our own media companies, production companies. We are our own, all of that. And the sooner you realize that, you won't need to rely on like, I hope I get on TikTok Shop, or I hope I do on the Creative Rewards program, which is fine. I'm not fighting it, but that's my thing. I want to help people find freedom, whether it's mental, financial, or location. That's my goal.
I lied earlier. That is the perfect place to end today's chat. Elton, man, I appreciate you being here so much. I reached out kind of on a whim from one of your posts. I resonated with it, didn't know anything about you. And I was like, I want to talk to you more. So back to what we said this whole time, like just putting yourself out there and your thoughts, it resonates and reverberates. And you did not disappoint, my friend. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, brother. I love what you're doing here. And whenever you want me to talk again, let me know. I'll be back.
We'll definitely be talking again. My name is Rain Bennett. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed that episode, do us a favor and subscribe to the podcast. If you're already a subscriber and you're enjoying the show, give us a review and let us know the value that you've gotten from it. We love to hear from our listeners and learn about the benefits that they're getting from the show. That's what fuels us, and that's what fuels the show. And if you've already subscribed and you've already reviewed it and you think there's someone else that would benefit from listening to this show, please share it with them. The more we grow, the more we can help you grow, and that's what we're here to do. Join us next time on the Storytelling Lab. I actually like the way that last one ended a lot. That's what helps us grow, and that's what helps you grow, and that's what we're here to do. That's cool. I dig that. So